Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Donna Thiesel, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge Talk Show, Where Truth Matters. Thank you so much for watching every day, Monday through Friday, beginning at 2 p.m. Eastern Time as we get to ride home with you in the afternoon. Anytime you want to watch, you can. You can go ahead and check out on YouTube, all the social media sites, including Facebook. By the way, I haven't been kicked off of Facebook in about 3 weeks. So that's been pretty cool. Maybe we're seeing some turnaround on that. You can also find us on television, channel 182, Charter Communications. Also, Abundant Television, we are syndicated. That's found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. Mention social media, and also on the Newscasters studio, have podcasts there. And I am tickled to death to be on the podcasters. As a matter of fact, I've got Murray Edwards with me right now. He's one of the brainiacs that are with the Newscasters studio. It's so good to be with you, Murray. Thank you for letting me be a part of it.
Not a problem, Donna. Enjoy having your shows on the platform. It's a wonderful thing. Now, I got to speak to the Facebook comment you just made. Newsom out in California made a comment to Biden the other day that they've got to shut down all this misinformation. And Biden apparently was informed that Zuckerberg was going to now stop all the censorship and was going to go to something what they call community notes and stuff like that. And he was irritated. Biden was. He made a statement from behind his podium that he believed, I just can't believe that these people can buy these platforms and state what they want and not protect what we're telling them to say, basically is what he's trying to say. And of course, Zuckerberg, last week was on Rogan and made the comment that the Biden administration had been after him to censor all kinds of different stuff. So we now know that, yes, in fact, proven that this administration has done everything they can to shut down anything that they don't agree with.
You mean I'm not a crazy conspiracy theorist?
I don't think so. Well, it's really going to be fun because the DNC now has apparently hired a bunch of Ms. Kamala's staff, and they're being hired specifically to cover misinformation. So we can only assume that anything that comes out that basically is factual and is true that does not go with their talking points, that's going to be disinformation and misinformation. But it is what it is.
Well, let me ask you a question. Do you really trust Zuckerberg? I'm sorry.
I don't know. I honestly don't know. He gave $400 million in Zuckerbucks to put ballot boxes all over blue states. I honestly don't know. Maybe he's seen the light of day. He's hired two fairly conservative individuals now to be on his board. Dana White from World Fighting Group or whatever they call them says I don't ever watch it, but he's now on the board, and another gentleman's on the board is fairly conservative. My gut feel, to be perfectly honest with you, is he's just sucking up to the next administration that's coming in because he knows that the Trump administration is going to rain on anybody who is not allowing free speech. And I think he's just trying to get ahead of it. Would he have changed anything? Should have Harris won? I kind of doubt it. So he's just going with the flow.
Yeah, but let me mention this. I have a friend who has been a conservative talk show host. I've known this guy for like 30 years. He actually took a job at CNN. I didn't think it would last. They needed to hire a conservative person. Mm-hmm. His life was just...
I can only imagine.
So he left it. Now he's back on his own again, which we should have never left being on his own anyway. But now sometimes people will do that. They'll think that if they hire you, that you'll be less conservative. And I think that's what he's up to. I think he needs to say, well, Trump, we got a couple conservative folks here on the staff, whatever. But their lives are going to be, we'll know by how long they actually stay because they're conservative or if they cave and become liberal.
A couple of the platforms and networks haven't learned. They're still pushing out all this nonsense that this is going on and that's going on. And they'll continue to push the left wing agenda I'm curious of who's going to be the next leader of the DNC. And that should be pretty interesting because the Democratic Party really truly has lost its way. I mean, there are some Democrats that I know that are of old school Democrat, moderate. They'll listen to you, that type of situation. But there's far too many of them that have just gone so far left that they're Marxists, they're communists. I mean, there's no other way you can say it. They are, so if they hope to be a legitimate party in 28 and moving forward, or 26 possibly when the next cycle starts up, they're going to have to make some major changes, I suspect.
Yeah, they are. Do you see them choosing a candidate maybe that's a little bit, still left, but a little bit more to the right? That would help.
I don't know who it would be. I'm just trying to think.
Tulsi would have been awesome for them.
Oh yeah. Now, if Gabbard had stayed on as a Democrat, but she didn't fall in line with the message, RFK, love him or hate him, he's got some wild thoughts in his brain, but he's also got some intelligent thoughts in his brain. Mm-hmm. He would have been better than Biden or Harris.
I'm just telling you, just from on the outside looking in, had they chosen Tulsi instead of this laughing hyena they just had, if they had chosen her, we would have had a much bigger fight.
It would have been much closer. It would have been much closer. Would he have still won? Maybe, but he wouldn't have won 312 to 226.
Not by a landslide. It would have been a closer match.
He might have got the 275 or something like that, but he wouldn't have got the 312, I don't suspect, if Gabbard had won. And of course, now she's going to be DNI chief. RFK is going to be HHS secretary because they're starting the committee hearings this week. So it should be interesting as to who they go through. I think they want to do the security group first. So that'll be Hegsmith, Bondi, the CIA director, and I guess they'll throw the FBI director in there. So they got to get security done first, and then they'll grab the next batch of them. So we'll just see. Should be interesting.
Should be really interesting. Okay.
The one thing that I want to watch, Don, and I hope everybody else will watch, is when Biden came in and he threw his group out there to be authorized or voted on. How many Republicans voted for some of these people? Mm-hmm. And there's been 3 or 4 Republicans who've said they may not vote for Hegseth, they may not vote for Bondi or whatnot. Go back and take a look and see who they voted for when Biden came in, and let's do a comparison. And if they voted for some of these people that were on Biden's cabinet, because I've heard, and you've heard them say this too, well, the president deserves the people that he's picking. There were some strange people on his cabinet. And if some of those Republicans that are in the Senate now voted for them, but then turn around and not vote for, let's say, Gabbard or RFK or whoever it might be, then their states need to really take a strong, heavy look about primary them when they go back up for re-election.
Great point. Okay, now you're on top of all this stuff. What would be the best website to go to find out who voted and why they did it?
Well, you can go to Heritage Action.
Mm-hmm.
They usually, what they do is they rate all the representatives and senators based on their vote, and then GovTrack. GovTrack will provide the actual vote for every bill, like the one that just passed, the Lake and Riley bill that just passed. 158 Democrats voted along with Republicans. There were 48 that did not. You can look in that they will show you how each person votes, and then you go back and look at their track record. I find those two the best.
Okay, how do you spell the last one?
GovTrack, I believe it's GovTrack. GovTrack.
All right, I'll keep a close eye on that.
And then you can take a look at, now with Heritage, you can't take a look at the legislation. They just sort of grade the senators and representatives based on conservative type votes. GovTrack, you can actually take a look at the piece of legislation, and if you're a glutton for punishment, you can pull them down and read them. And unfortunately, sometimes I'm a glutton for punishment.
So am I. I want to know the truth.
Pull them down and take a look at them and go, okay, now I understand why that particular person didn't vote. I mean, we had an uproar here in Alabama a couple of last year when there was a vote for national security, and one of our representatives voted no for it, and he took a ration of you know what for it. But when you dig into the bill, there's about 2 pages of stuff that were not very good, and I can see how he voted no on it. So, and that's what I try to tell folks all the time, Donna, is make sure you understand the legislation that somebody is voting on before you get really upset.
Well, that's why we need to do research ourselves and not key into social media and all that to find out your answers on anything, because it's not going to be anywhere near what the core is.
No, true statement. People need to take the time. Yeah, and it does take some time, folks. I hate to admit it does take some time, because some of these bills are way too long. I certainly hope that they'll get away from all these omnibus bills, and that they'll do, especially from a budget standpoint, do the 12 budgets independent so people can read them, take a look at them. I mean, that last CR that they passed, it went from 1,500 some odd pages down to 120. That just goes to show you just how much junk was inside that 1,500 page bill. And whether you like them or not, Johnson got it passed. So I guess we'll see that. And that goes from a state standpoint too, whatever state you're in. If there's a topical issue that you're passionate about and legislation has been put up for that particular bill, make sure you read the bill. That way, when you do call your senator or your representative, you can talk intelligently to them instead of just saying, you need to vote for Bill XYZ. Well, why? I don't know. I've been told you need to vote for XYZ. So just take a few minutes. State bills typically aren't very long, 10, 15 pages. They've been a couple that in our state anyhow. They're usually fairly short and sweet. Occasionally there'll be one that's 35 or 40 pages long, but 20 or 30 minutes dig through it. Now they're confusing because they'll refer to this and then refer to that. So it does take a little bit of time to digest, what's in them, but take the time to read the bills.
We've got to do research. Do you know how many people I've seen on voting day? I'm talking about amendments right now who don't do a bit of research, and they'll say, well, I'm going to vote yes, or I'm going to vote no. And even if they're voting my way, I ask why. Most of the time the response is, well, my cousin Joe said that's the way I need to vote. Well, I love a cousin Joe too. However, you've got to do your own research.
Donna, I've actually gotten phone calls from people while they're in line voting and say, hey, Murray, who should I vote for? I don't know. I don't tell anybody how to vote. If they want an idea, I could typically give them, what this particular candidate stands for, what that particular candidate stands for. And you as an individual have got to make up your mind who you're going to vote for. But when it comes to legislation, like last time, there was an amendment put forward, and it was a very confusing amendment. And I guess I got 5 or 10 phone calls from people. Should I vote yes on this amendment or no on this amendment? Did you read the thing? No, I didn't. I'm going, I don't know what to tell you to do that, because that's one thing I won't do. And I get people irritated at me because you'll say, well, should I vote for Joe or should I vote for Jane? You vote for whoever you think is going to represent you best. I don't want you coming back at me and saying, well, Murray told me to vote for so-and-so and he's bad, or I should have voted for Jane, but I didn't. And she's turned out to be fantastic. So
That's plain laziness. That is plain laziness.
Yeah,
you need to
I wish they would. I wish they would do away with straight ticket voting. Personally.
Yeah, I do too. I do too, because I'm just telling you, and I'm talking about the state of Alabama, South Carolina, wherever you are, there are some thug Republicans as well. It's not all Democrats. But I got to say this, Murray, I would rather be around a Democrat because at least I know how to dodge the bullets.
Absolutely. You know, for the most part, you know where they stand. You know where they're coming from. And with I call it the look through, look at plan. When I sit down or talk to anybody running for office or someone that I'm sitting down at the State House and talking about a piece of legislation, are they looking at me or are they looking at one of my shoulders? Mm-hmm. If they're looking at one of my shoulders, they're sitting there trying to figure out, okay, what do I think he wants to hear? And when I look them, if they do look me in the eye, and there's some that they'll look you square in the eye and say, well, Murray, here's why I'm going to vote this way. And I can respect that, from that standpoint. But you're right. There's just too many of them that just sort of look to the left or to the right. And while they're looking to the left or to the right, they're going, okay, I better figure out how to put my finger in the wind and see which way. I'll never forget there was a gentleman here running for office a while back, and statewide office. And I happened to have 5 people that I knew that were going to go to some of his campaign events. And I asked each one of them to ask a specific question. Put it in your own words, but this specific question. They got 5 different answers.
You remember, Murray, back in the day. Now I went to school quite different back in the olden days than it is right now. But I definitely remember something in 3rd grade. So Miss Anderson, one of my favorite teachers, went to the first person and then had us to repeat something. And it started out as the car is red. Well, by the time it got around and circled around 20-something students, it had nothing to do with the car. And it had to do nothing with the color red. It was something like totally way off. So I said that to say this. That's why by the time it gets around, it's nowhere near. So just do your own research, please. And don't get the watered down version of anything. Okay, so I wanted to ask you about this. Sure. I voted for President Trump. Should be no shock to anybody. And I think he won the last election. Yes, I'm one of those. But I'm celebrating, but I'm not celebrating yet. When he puts his hand on the Bible, and even after that, I want to wait 24 hours. What do you think is happening because there are some idiots out there, and I'm talking about the certification of President Trump. They're still working on it. They're still working on him not being president yet.
Yes, they are.
Can anybody ruin that?
Yeah. No, the left during the certification standpoint, and they fixed it, but they hurt themselves in a roundabout kind of way. The old policy used to be that if they wanted to question the certification of a vote of a particular state, it took one senator and one representative to raise a question for the House to vote on. They changed, and they clarified what the vice president could do. Now the vice president is nothing more than a ceremonial head. They can't say anything. They can't weigh in. All they can do is say Alabama had cast its 9 votes for, or whatever state. They did one step further. They increased the number of people who can question a particular state by 20% from both sides of the House. So it would take 20% of the House, 20% of the Senate before a question could be brought up about certification. The Democrats did that because Democrats were in control during the first 2 years of Mr. Biden's administration. So if you think back why they did that because they wanted to stop any potential questions about the certification of the electoral votes. And so they sort of did it to themselves. So when Raskin was saying, well, we're going to do the 14th Amendment, he was an insurrectionist. Well, no, he wasn't. He wasn't arrested for, nor was anybody else, arrested for, charged with, or convicted of an insurrection.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one of their biggest arguments, that that's what they're going to do. Well, they couldn't do that. I'm sure somebody wanted to do that, but they didn't do it. And you had people on social media and other media people spouting the 14th Amendment, Section 3, I think, of the 14th Amendment, that basically says, someone going into or causing an insurrection, as they call it, could not take the oath of an office. Well, the only people who were driving the verbiage of insurrection was the left and their left-wing minions. So there wasn't one. I mean, as bad as it was on January the 6th, it's terrible that a riot broke out, a melee broke out, but it was not an insurrection, no matter what people want to say. And they're still calling it that. So there are people that are still trying to say that the Democrats let them down, they are still letting them down because the president and the vice president could stop everything via executive order or executive fiat. And, they've even gone to the point to where they're trying to say that NATO can stop our election, that the ICC can stop our election, that the UN can stop our election. We're a sovereign nation. They have no control over what our election processes and procedures are. But they are deep into it, and they'll keep talking about it until next Monday, when he's inaugurated and sworn in. And they'll talk about it afterwards. The biggest thing that they had going for them, Don, and everybody who's probably listening, is this lawfare that they've had on the man for the last 3 or 4 years. They got what they wanted. They got to be able to call him, as of last Friday, a convicted felon. And they think a convicted felon can't be sworn in as president. They're wrong. He can't. A convicted felon can. In fact, had he been sentenced, he could actually operate the presidency from a jail cell. There's nothing that stops someone who was chosen by the people to stop that kind of stuff. Most of that stuff in the 14th Amendment all refers back to the Civil War. Trying to say that the South rose up, created an insurrection to overthrow the government, that type of situation. And they keep complaining that all these police officers were hurt. There was 5 of them that were killed on the date. No, unfortunately, the only person who passed away was Miss Babbitt, and she was shot by a police officer there inside the White House, inside the Capitol building. So they can yell and scream, but to my knowledge, there's not a blooming thing they can do about it. And you'd have to go back and think, Donnie, you got all these tech bigwigs who have donated millions and millions and millions of dollars and are coming to see him down in Mar-a-Lago. They know nothing can be done, so because they would sit back, and if they thought something was going to happen, they'd be sitting back, on their hands, twiddling their thumbs, going, well, I'm going to wait till January the 20th and see what happens. Well, January 20th is going to come in. The guy's going to put his hand on the Bible. The vice president is going to put his hand on the Bible, and bingo, bango, we've got a brand new administration. So I do fear for him. I'll be perfectly honest with you now. For most presidents, I think for what he is saying that he will do is going to turn the big boys inside Washington, D.C. on their hands and knees, because they know he's going to rip that place apart. And it truly deserves to be ripped apart.
Yes, it does.
And it's the Department of Education, the FBI's got to be rearranged, the CIA's got to be rearranged, the Justice Department as a whole, the immigration group. Now, the people doing the day-to-day work, I'm sure most of them are doing a wonderful job. It's not them who have caused problems. It's those folks up on the executive levels who have allowed politics to get involved in things that they should not have allowed them to get involved in.
Well, what's amazing, everybody has this friend who got a divorce, and she or he would not shut up about the divorce. They've been divorced for 30 years, and it's still the same old song and dance. This is what the Republicans and some Democrats and some Republicans, it's their song and dance. That's all they know to do. They just talk about their bad divorce all the time, and we all get tired of hearing it. Even some Democrats are tired of hearing it.
Yeah, I think the voting public, for the most part, understood what has been happening and what's been going on. They saw this administration get up in front of a camera and basically tell them exact opposite of what was going on. I heard Biden and Harris both say, well, the people just don't understand what we've done for them. It's not what you've done for them, it's what you've done to them.
Yeah.
And when you raise prices, when you stop free speech, when you don't allow things to occur, when you arrest a grandmother for just voicing her opinion in front of an abortion clinic, throw her in jail for 6 months. You go after moms and dads because they're concerned about the education that their children are getting. You claim that the Catholics are white supremacists and terrorists, and the FBI decides they're going to investigate them. That kind of stuff gets tiresome. And no matter how much they wanted to deny that it was going on, it was occurring. It was occurring.
No doubt at all about it. And it's also called in my neck of the woods, when you're on and on and on and on, and you keep putting these barriers up, it's called shooting yourself in the foot. And that's exactly what they've done. They can scrape up and still be Democrats and probably have some kind of a shot next 4 years. They're already starting on it right now, but I still say that they've messed their own selves up. And there are some Democrats who'll never go back to being Democrat again. They're done.
You had some Democrats that were actually attacked. You had one, I believe he was in New Hampshire. I could be wrong with the state, but a state representative who actually made the comment. He had 2 daughters. And he said, I don't want my 2 daughters sharing a bathroom with a man or playing sports against a man. It's a different biology. And they just ripped him apart. Our big guy out of Pennsylvania went down to Mar-a-Lago and sat down with Trump yesterday. The Democrats are just snorting mad that he's down there talking, and actually is talking like a politician should talk. I'm here for the people. I represent Democrats. I represent Republicans. I could agree on this. I may not agree on that, but I'm here to support my entire contingency, and it's or constituents, I should say. And you would have thought that he wouldn't be that way, but something happened. He had that little stroke, and he's recovered from it. And wow, he's almost sensible sounding now.
I know, it's hard to believe. It's like
it is.
Absolutely, Murray. We've got to go into a commercial break.
Okay.
Half the show already over. I can't believe this. So let's go ahead and do it so we can pay for this. And then we're going to be right back.
Queen City Used Car Sales has been serving drivers in the Northeast Alabama area for years with a quality selection of late model used cars, SUVs, and pickup trucks. On top of our extensive selection and competitive prices, we offer professional auto financing services for used car buyers of all credit levels. Whether you've just begun your search or you're ready to secure your next vehicle, at Twin City Used Car Sales, you will drive away with the vehicle of your dreams. The sales and finance staff at Twin City Used Car Sales looks forward to serving you, and you can apply for financing online before your visit to our used dealership in Gadsden, Alabama. Check us out on the web at twincityusedcars.com or go by our location at 901 First Avenue, Gadsden, Alabama. We sincerely look forward to serving you. At Lamone's Mexican Restaurant, located in Henniger, Alabama, and voted Best Mexican Restaurant of DeKalb County, Alabama 2020, we're here to serve you with authentic Mexican cuisine. Order easily online by going to lamonsmex.com or call 256-657-3999 to place your order. We're open Sunday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Friday and Saturday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Whether you're celebrating a cozy date night for two or a celebration for a crowd, at Lamone's you'll love our atmosphere and friendly servers. Thank you for dining with Lamone's Mexican Restaurant. At Liberty Bank, we're all about community, whether it's to help with a charity fundraiser or help families in need. Toys at Christmas or a local football team, we're here for you. You see, we realize the importance of family. Sometimes it's to build a new home or necessary home repairs. We're here for you. If you like the feel of a small town bank with all the conveniences of a big city bank, we're here to serve you. You will find us at any of our convenient locations in DeKalb, Marshall, Etowah, and Blount counties in North Alabama. You can call and speak with any of our friendly staff at 256-659-2175 or check us out on the web at libertybankal.com. And thank you for your support of our community. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender. The only place I buy my beef is Lone Tree Ranch in Collinsville, Alabama. Their cattle is born and raised on their ranch, grass and grain fed, and you can feel confident when you serve your family and friends because their beef is all natural and no antibiotics or hormones are added. You can buy whole beef or perhaps go in with family or friends and buy half. Their customer service is number one as they take care of the delivery to their local processor and can deliver to your home for a small added fee. They also offer herd replacement heifers. I always call Lone Tree Ranch in Collinsville, Alabama for my beef specialty recipes and cookouts, and you can too. Food shortages are increasing, so buy local by calling 256-523-6462. That's 256-523-6462.
Good afternoon. We're back. My name is Donna, and I'm your host of Donna's Edge Talk Show, where truth matters. Thank you so much for watching every day, Monday through Friday. If you could just know what we talk about behind the set. Jessica Rabbit. I'm jealous of Jessica Rabbit. I'm jealous. So when I had the flu, Phil said, "I'm glad you're feeling better, but could you get the voice back?" I sound like Jessica Rabbit, and you want me to sound like Kathleen Turner. Can't do it, sorry. I'm not going to keep the flu anymore.
There you go.
So anyway, you're stuck with me. So anyway, keep watching. You know, you can find us on television. Abundant Television syndicated, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. And don't forget the podcast on the Newscasters.com. Let's talk about the Newscasters. You guys are still growing like crazy. I don't know if I've ever been involved with anybody who's been growing this fast.
We've hit a spot to where the information that our contributors, including yourself, which we greatly appreciate, are hitting that people just aren't being able to hear. They get the sound bites from major news or whatnot, or they get the spin, and everybody that's on the platform just sort of tells it like it is. You know, it's some folks are doing shows every couple of days. Some I do one. Mine are all based on topics. So when something comes up, that's what I'll do a show on. But everybody just sort of spells it out. I had a phone call with a lady the other night. How she got my phone number, I don't really know. But, I was talking about term limits, and I just sort of spelled out how it would work, might not work type situation. And, she was gracious enough to say it's never been explained that way. So sometimes that's what people are looking for. We've got some folks who do some inspirational shows, which is wonderful. We've got a couple of guys now doing music. So we've got a nice combination of contributors. They're from all over the country, and they just sort of spell things out. We've got a few more folks that are going to come on sometime over the next month and a half. They're getting their shows lined up, and I couldn't be happier. I mean, it just continues to grow, and people are just, looking for some place that people don't yell and scream. You've got all these platforms. We've got folks who just love to curse and love to yell and all this kind of stuff. Our folks, everybody that's on there, it's just day-to-day people like you and me, and they know that people are looking for the kind of information that they're trying to share. There's no need to scream about something or call somebody this or call somebody that. Just give them the information so they can make an intelligent decision as to what's going on. And that was the vision, and fortunately, we've been able to keep to that vision, and we'll continue to grow. I mean, we'll never be the biggest, as much as
I don't know.
It will take some time, but we've come a long way. January 1st was our first year in production, and so we've come a long way in the first year, and we'll try to expand on some things moving into 2025.
Well, it's going to happen. I feel really good, and I'm honored to be part of the team. I'm just telling you. I'm tickled. Okay, I wanted to ask you a question, because you and I hate rumors. I mean, if anybody comes up to me and says, you know what they said, I always say, who's they? Because that's always the start of a rumor, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. J.D. Vance is an Oklahoma fan. Okay, so what
Yeah.
the rumor mill
Ohio State fan. Ohio State.
I meant Ohio State. So he's an Ohio State fan, and so they're doing really good in football. Of course, I'm another fan, but anyway. So here's the word. Okay, J.D. Vance is not even going to be there when Trump is sworn. He's going to be at the ball game. Come on, is that the best you can do? So they're starting with that now.
It would be. That would be the biggest mistake that young man would ever make.
He's not stupid. This guy's not.
If he decided I'm going to go to the Ohio State Notre Dame game from that stand. Yeah, I've heard that. I mean, you've got some folks who say they're not going to go to the inauguration. Well, that's fine. That's your prerogative.
Well, then don't
go. A lot of the Democrats, which does not surprise me, say they're not going to go. Well, I can understand that. If I was Republican and Democrat won, I'm not really sure that I would go to the Democratic.
Right.
I might go out of respect. That individual might have won, but it's not out of disrespect. It's just total disrespect in this circumstance. Is they don't believe he's there. They don't believe he won. Back in 2020, Donna, they were calling anybody and everybody who questioned the results of the 2020 election a conspiracy theorist, election denier. People might have thought that the folks who thought Trump won, now that Harris has lost, it's a million times worse now that Harris has lost. I mean, you're talking about just unbelievable stuff that's floating around out there that Elon Musk had Starlink set up to where it could zap voting machines and flip votes from Biden to Trump. There's no way he won the 7 swing states. Elon Musk did something. There were some, and the funniest one I think is Trump had a rally, and I honestly cannot remember where it was, but there were a couple of protesters. Not many, but a couple of protesters. They were yelling and screaming, and he made the comment, says, "I don't need your vote anyhow." Well, they turned that into a talking point. They've taken, Trump even said he doesn't need our vote. That shows you that they have manipulated the election machines and all this kind of stuff. And you go, whoa, where does all this stuff come from? But it's going to be worse. I mean, the media, for the most part, media hasn't learned their lesson. But
wait, I thought there was supposed to be this great exit of people it's an exodus. People are going to leave the United States if Trump gets in. Well, what are they leaving?
I don't know. I'm still waiting for Meathead to. He said he was going to set himself on fire.
When's that gonna be?
Well, gosh.
Okay, 4 years ago or 8 years ago, Cher was supposed to move to Jupiter.
Oh yeah. Well, there's a bunch of them. Oprah's supposed to leave now. Tom Hanks. All of them got homes in Europe anyhow. They can go any place they want to go. I can't remember what the lady is. She just starred on several movies and TV. She's a very nice lady, and she made the comment that she had left the United States. She had a house in Mexico, and I think a house in either Spain or Italy. I can't remember. Well, they turned that and say she left because of Trump. No, she was a resident of California. She left California because of the things that were going on in California. She did not leave because of the election cycle. And she's come out and said that point clear, but they don't want to hear it. But I don't know where they're going to go. Canada seems to be flipping from a bright blue state now into more of a purple state, maybe a red state. Some of the countries over in Europe now have awakened to the fact that some of their political leaders are not what they say they are. UK's been, I don't know what's going on in the UK. I mean, it's being just torn apart by the immigrants that they have allowed to come into there. So I don't know where they're going to go. But if they want to go, they got the money to leave, fine, let them leave. The sad thing about it is most Americans did not have the money to leave when Biden went into office.
No, we had
to struggle with everything. And we got stuck and struggled with high inflation and higher crime and higher immigration. And every state in the country got affected by everything he's done. But we don't understand what they did so good for us. That's the problem. That's their message. That's their message that the average person just doesn't understand that we were doing such a wonderful job.
I have nothing to say to that. I mean, they were not doing a good job, and the poor guy had dementia. It's called elder abuse. The poor guy had dementia. We all saw it. People with half a pea brain in their heads saw it. The poor guy. I'm not a Biden fan at all. He was a liar throughout his entire political career. He had 2 degrees, and was top of the class. Well, you find out he has 1 degree and he was at the bottom of the class. Well, that wasn't when he had dementia. He was much younger then. My point is this. The whole bunch lied to us. And people who are smart on the Democrat side are fed up. I mean, it's just like, don't lie to me no more. And people are just tired of it. Let's talk about Alabama politics.
Okay.
What's happening in the state of Alabama right now? How deep in the murk are we? And, when you think about the governor's race, who's running, who's not, any of that stuff?
A little bit. The rumors are starting to float. Of course, Will Ainsworth will be running for governor. There's no doubt he's been sitting back waiting his turn. He didn't run last time because Miss Ivy decided she was going to run for re-election. Rick Pate is doing an exploratory campaign to whether he's going to run for governor. You got Dean Odle, who just announced on Saturday that he's running for lieutenant governor. He ran and got for governor back in 2022. I'm sure some of the standard names, John Merrill's name's been mentioned for governor. Now, whether he's going to run or not, I don't know. Tommy Tuberville's name's been floated. Now, Tuberville came out about 2 weeks ago and said he was going to run for re-election for Senate. But there was a caveat at the end of his statement saying, we'll see what we'll see. So he could. There's rumors that Senator Arthur Orr down at the State House is going to run for Attorney General. Marshall has taken his name out of running for governor. He was one of the leading names that they thought was going to run. He's removed his name from it, but he's termed out. So whether he's just going to go home for a while and forget about it, I don't know. Wes Allen there's rumors a little bit that Wes Allen might move from Secretary of State to Lieutenant Governor. I'm waiting to find out what Andrew Sorrell is going to do. You know, he's auditor. He took Ziegler's place from being termed out. Andrew's got huge ambitions, governmental ambitions, and I don't know whether he's going to stay as auditor for 4 more years and then try to move up the food chain. I don't know. The mayor of Birmingham is going to have a challengers because the representative Gavon has now decided she's running for mayor of Birmingham. So that means she's not going to run for re-election in 2026 for her House seat down there. But I would say over the next 3 to 4 months, some of those rumored names will become official. And if they're being rumored, most likely they're going to become official of some sort. But we'll just have to see. I think it would be, who runs for governor really should be interesting. Let's say you've got Ainsworth, and again, let's say the people who are toying with the idea, Pate, Merrill, Tuberville, and whatnot. That would be a very interesting race. It really would be.
Well, I'm just going to tell you, Alabama politics is not much different than Washington politics. It can get nasty.
It's Alabama at one time, Donna, was ranked the number 3 or number 4 most corrupt government in the country. We've dropped down to number 5, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, we're 5 now?
Yeah, I think from 5, with a supermajority in the House, the Senate, and then to the executive level. You would think that all the legislation that would come through the State House down in Montgomery would be very conservative. You would think it would be very conservative. Alabama ranks about 19th in the country when it comes to conservative legislation. You know, so it's going to be an interesting session. It starts on February the 4th, if I'm not mistaken, of this year. So they're only a few weeks away from it. I believe gambling is probably going to come back again. Tort reform is going to be a top issue. There's no doubt about it. Folks may have heard about the pharmacy benefit manager issue that the pharmacists are having across the state. There's going to be a hard push to try to get something passed here in Alabama. Now, they have introduced a bipartisan bill in the Senate to try to separate insurance companies from PBMs. That's a huge issue for hometown pharmacies. I mean, they're closing their doors left and right. So there'll be a few more issues that will come up. I just hope, from a gambling standpoint, I just hope it doesn't suck the oxygen out of the State House down there like it did last year. There was 4 or 5 good bills that probably should have had an opportunity to at least be debated. Now, whether they passed or not, I don't know. I'm a firm believer if it gets to a committee, it gets to the floor, then it should be debated. Now, whether it passes again, that's up to the members of the House and the Senate. But there were 2 or 3 really good bills. The PBM bill is a good prime example. There was a bill that was passed, got through the committees, and it just sat there in the basket of the speaker. You would not allow it to come to the floor. I think the most heated election most likely is going to be the governor's race. Of course, that's the case in almost any situation. All the representatives, all the senators will be up for re-election in 2026. So it's time to really start taking a look. If you're happy with your representative, you're happy with your senator, okay, vote for him or her. If you're not, then you need to try to find some people who might be considering their first run at politics. I suspect a lot of people who voted for the gambling bill are going to be primary. I suspect, if they can find people to run against them. But we'll just have to see. But yeah, there's a couple of groups. I've heard all different terms for them, but there's 3 or 4 groups up in Birmingham that pretty much control what happens in Montgomery.
You betcha. Here's something I would love to see happen, and this would be totally fair. That's because money, I'm telling you, money talks.
Well,
Because,
yeah.
okay, Ann Eubank should have won that election because Ann Eubank knows more about the educational system than anybody. She was out there. I thought she was crazy the first time I ever met her. And she's talking about Common Core. And I'm like, this woman's nuts. Come to find out the woman knew what she was talking about.
Absolutely. Very intelligent lady. I think the world of Ann.
She should have won that. But anyway, money talks, you know what walks. So
Yep.
what I think would make it fair game on any election, I don't care if it's president of the United States all the way down to dog catcher. Everyone is allotted the exact same amount of money. So let's just throw a number. Let's say $1 million. Okay. Everyone running for governor of state of Alabama would have $1 million to run with. Now, if you were stupid and you wasted it, then tough. That's just tough. You just don't have any more money. You can't call on PACs. Nobody can donate more money to you. It's all the same.
Yeah. I can't argue that.
People in office, Kay Ivey, in my opinion, should not have been elected again. To me, I'm sorry, making everybody mad. She's the female version of Joe Biden. Sorry. It's out there.
I could be off. Going into election night, I believe she was at 46 or 47% favorability here in the state of Alabama. However, she won by 52. She hit the 52 to 53% mark when all the votes were counted. So naturally, what does that do? That makes people think that somebody was playing around with the election, from that standpoint.
Yeah.
But, that's the problem. I just did a show the other day on term limits. And that's really the problem with term limits. Everybody wants to believe that elections matter. Well, elections do matter. That is a true statement, they do. But trying to unseat an incumbent at almost any level is almost impossible. The incumbents win at about a 92, 93% rate. And the one thing that they have in their favor is money, as you said. But they've also got their own little political machine already established. And unless somebody who's running against that individual has access at least to the same amount of money, they're going to have a hard time beating anybody. So, and then you got the party. Parties are, they love their incumbents. So when an incumbent like John Doe, say he's a Republican, and Jane Doe decides she's going to run against him, she happens to be a Republican, but the incumbent is a Republican. And it really applies at the federal level. The longer somebody's up there, the committees they get onto. In certain committees, they can steer money back down to the states. So they don't want that gravy train that is going to come from somebody who's been up there 10, 20, 30, 40 years to go away. And so, my hopes, I know Cruz at the federal level, there's 4 or 5 folks now who've put in resolutions for term limits. Well, where they're going to go anywhere, I don't know. But, that's what the founders intended. You and I both know. You go up, whether it's a state level, federal level, whatever level it might be, you go, you serve your time, you try to do a good job, and you say, okay, I've been here long enough, it's time for me to go home. That just does not happen. And it's just a shame. It's just really a shame.
I mean, it is. Okay, I wanted to ask you about one other person I'm kind of keeping an eye out on, and that's Nathaniel Ledbetter. In your opinion, what are his ambitions?
I don't know. He's a hard person to figure out, to be perfectly honest with you. His first year, this will be his 3rd year as Speaker. The first year in the session, it was a debacle. I mean, just an absolute debacle. Last year was maybe a little bit better, but not much. So he's going into his 3rd year now, a 4-year term as the Speaker. We'll just have to see what happens. I do think he's probably got ambitions, maybe not this time, but maybe next time as either lieutenant governor or governor. I don't know. He's one individual I've not been able to figure out. Most of them I can figure them out after having a couple of conversations with them. I've not been able to figure out whether he's just happy where he's at, or not. I mean, Greg Reed, who was in the Senate, who was Senate pro temp, Governor Ivey put him on some type of transformation program for the Labor Department. So they've got an empty seat now for him. So there'll be a new body in the Senate. So far, no one from the House has decided they're going to vote for that in that special election. But we'll just have to see what happens. There's some good folks in Montgomery. I know, quite a few of the representatives, and they're good folks, and they're trying to do the best they can. But you get what I call the purple guys and gals who represent a district that is split down the middle, and they put their finger in the wind and decide, okay, who am I going to irritate the least? The folks on the red side of my finger or the folks on the blue side of my finger?
Well, when they get into office, they're already thinking about running for the next time. That's basically what happens. But I want to say this. You remember back a long time ago when Siegelman and Riley were running against each other, and Siegelman thought he had it. He went, how sweet it is. You remember that? Mm-hmm. That's when I first really got into politics. And I'm going, well, I hope not. I was a very young person then, but I was thinking, well, I hope not. Then the next morning we all woke up and he didn't win after all. I mean, it's best to kind of wait,
It is, and there's all kinds of stories behind that, to the point to where, let's see, he was running for governor at the same time that Bush was running for president, and Karl Rove was involved. There's rumors to the fact that they believe Karl Rove had a software package. He went down to Mobile and was able to flip around votes in Mobile because Bush wanted Riley, did not want Siegelman. And you sit there and go, do what now? So we talk about weird things occurring nationally. There's some weird stuff that occurs here in the state of Alabama.
Oh, yeah.
So, and then now you're talking about money and influence. Mm-hmm. The Riley machine is something to behold. I mean, they really are. You've got 2 or 3 big corporate entities that can control things, but that Riley machine, if they're for you, if you can convince them that this is a good piece of legislation, they will go, out, try to help them get it passed, or don't want the bill passed, they will go all in to try to get bills blocked.
Oh, absolutely. You know what? We got to go. I cannot.
Holy cow.
This.
That was quick.
I'm just absolutely flies, especially when I have you on the show with me. What happens? So anyway, thank you so much, Murray, for being with me, and thank you for letting me be part of the Newscasters.
Thank you.
I definitely appreciate it. And guys, I appreciate you also for watching and listening. We have some new things we're going to be talking about once we get back into South Carolina. Some things I'm working on right now. We're going to grow even bigger, so I'm so excited about that as well. Send emails, please, because you don't know how that makes my day. When I see emails come from you, it thrills me. Honesty, it keeps me going. Send emails to Donna@donnasedge.com, Donna@donnasedge.com. Love you so much. Thank you so much for watching. Love you too, Murray.
Y'all have a wonderful day.
Bye.